Hello there guys, welcome to another of my live videos and on this video this afternoon I'm going to be giving you my reaction to Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's press conference for the Watford Manchester United game on Sunday 2 o'clock kick-off. So Solskjaer has provided us with some news regarding Paul Pogba. He's also reacted to the speculation regarding Erling Haaland, because obviously he's our number one priority target for January, and he's also provided us with some news regarding Diego Dalot, Eric Bay and Foster Mensah. So the first thing he was asked at the beginning of the press conference, is Paul Pogba fit? He has revealed as Solskjaer that Paul Pogba is training. He hasn't been training for long. He hasn't been trained there for long, and he was also asked, does he understand, the interest around Pogba, and, yes, he does, but because, Solskjaer said, Paul Pogba's a fantastic player. He also says he has a characteristic personality, and Solskjaer also confirmed that he's very convinced that Paul Pogba will not be sold in the January transfer window, because Pogba anywhere has been subjected to a lot of transfer speculation, especially, during the course of the summer. Well, for the entirety of the summer, he was relentlessly, linked to move to Real Madrid, because he did say he was seeking for a new challenge. I was reading reports yesterday, and it did say our heresy and our players are convinced that Paul Pogba has played his last game for Manchester United. But Solskjaer knows deep down anywhere how much of an imperative player he is. I can assure that he will not be playing in the game on Sunday. I think, Paul Pogba still needs a bit more time. He's just, recovered from an ankle injury. He was out with an ankle injury for over 3 months. So Paul Pogba has not been in action since September. So the last league game he did play was the 1-1 draw with Arsenal. So he has missed the vast majority of our games this season due to injury. But I think he's initially recovered from that injury now. Obviously, it confirmed earlier on this week that Paul Pogba has got an illness. This is why he didn't play in the game against Colchester. I think this illness occurred like a couple of days after his brother's wedding that he obviously now attended in France. But yeah, so he has been ill, Miss Pogba. So I think we're expected to see him back maybe for the Newcastle game, maybe even for the Burnley game. He should be back by then. But I think we are hopeful he will be back in action before the end of the year. I'm still very convinced that Paul Pogba wants to leave the football club. I think he's still orchestrating on making a move to Real Madrid next year. If he doesn't go in January, I presume he may go in the summer. If he doesn't go in the summer, then I think, he will go at some point in the future, because I can't see him from now, spending the entirety of his career at Manchester United. He's now into his 4th season at the club since he rejoined from Juventus back in 2016. And I know, analysing the vast majority of his performances at Man United, they've been totally comparison to how there was at Juventus. Don't forget, during the summer there was also a lot of speculation about him possibly making a return back to Turin. Also, there was speculation about him going to Barcelona in the summer. He was also subjected to a lot of transfer speculation under the Jose Mourinho era, because obviously he had a bad relationship with Mourinho. But he did say, Solskjaer said this in his press conference prior to the Everton game, that, Pogba was expected to return to training this week, but he is now training, which is very, very good news. So he's closer to, coming back. The news regarding Erling Haaland, so reports have emerged out this morning saying that allegedly Erling Haaland has boarded a plane from Norway to Manchester to have negotiations with Man United, and Solskjaer has reacted to them reports, and he's actually denied that Erling Haaland's on his way to Manchester for talks. According to Solskjaer, he is on a Christmas holiday. Reportedly, we are set to sign Erling Haaland for around £76 million in January. That is a substantial amount. But obviously, it says we'd have to loan him back to Red Bull Salzburg for the remainder of the season. Obviously, last Friday, Solskjaer himself and Ed Woodward had flew to Austria to obviously meet up with Erling Haaland regarding a January transfer to Manchester United. And reportedly, I think Erling Haaland's preference is a move to Man United. Because I think he told Ole Gunnar Solskjaer that he wants to join the football club. But quite a lot of other clubs have been in for Erling Haaland. A lot of clubs have been in for him. Obviously, Juventus have been in for him. Borussia Dortmund, Red Bull, Leipzig, and I think he's also had negotiations with Juventus's, with Dortmund's representatives and RP Leipzig's representatives ahead of a move. But Fabrizio Romano, who's an Italian journalist, he confirmed that all them teams have placed their bids in for him, including Manchester United. There was reports coming out yesterday as well saying that we may have to pay his agent Mini Raiola around £12 million to recommend him to the football club, because I think his Mini Raiola's preference that he actually wants his client to make a move to Juventus. So I think it's very, very imminent that we're going to sign Erling Haaland in January. He's going to be our first signing in January. He's going to be our fourth signing overall under the Ole Gunnar Solskjaer era. But Solskjaer has give his own perception on Erling Haaland, and he says he's a player he likes. And Solskjaer knows how much he would dramatically improve Manchester United, and I think it also would be beneficial as well to recommend him in to the football club, because obviously Solskjaer knows him well. He's played under Solskjaer's guidance, and Solskjaer is keen on a reunion with the player. He played under Solskjaer during his period with Mould. He's had a good season so far this season for Red Bull Salzburg. He has been a revelation. He's scored, 28 goals in 22 games in all competitions. And I think if he comes to Manchester United, he can replicate what he has done with Red Bull Salzburg. And he is only the age of 19, is Erling Haaland. And Solskjaer said, that he's still keen on recruiting young players into the football club. Despite the fact that we've got a lot of young players in now, obviously, he obviously recommended 3 young players to the squad during the summer and that. But, it would be beneficial to recommend another number 9 in, someone who can bring more players into play. And Erling Haaland, definitely would be the right calibre player for the football club. I was reading reports yesterday, and it did say Dimitar Berbatov has actually urged him not to come to Manchester United. But so we have been in for him for quite some time. But overall, anywhere, we've got a lot of players on our agenda for next year. Because obviously, we've got to address the deficiencies in the squad next year. Even if Paul Pogba is to stay at the football club, we still need to get a couple of midfielders in, because that midfield is one of the priority areas where Man United need to strengthen up. We also need a couple of attackers, including Erling Haaland. I think we also need a right winger, and there's possibly other areas in the squad as well that need to be addressed. But, it's not long now until the January transfer window opens. And Solskjaer did recently admit that it's not guaranteed that we will make any signings in January. But I think he's looking to bring 2 or 3 players to the club in January. But we've got to bring the right calibre players into the football club next year to elevate us forward and get us back, to being a competitively level football club. This is something we need to do, and our board are determined to back Solskjaer in the next couple of windows, because I think they realise that they didn't back him enough during the course of the summer. He's going to get a spending spree of around £250 million. That should be enough for us to get the right number of players in, dependent on, how we are with our recruitment and that. But I think Erling Haaland, it's very, very imminent, that we are going to sign him in the January transfer window. I know it said, was it the other week, that actually, it got revealed that he's got a release clause, and a 17 million release clause in his Red Bull Salzburg contract. So it did say, we could have actually, got him on the cheap. But I think Erling Haaland has made a decision now on his future, and I think he wants to come to Manchester United. He also recently signed the Manchester United shirt. So Solskjaer's denied that he was on his way to Manchester, but reports are obviously saying, their comparison to what Solskjaer thinks, they're saying he's actually, boarded a flight, to Manchester to have negotiations, and obviously, that was this morning and that. But I would be excited about the prospects of Haaland, playing alongside the likes of Rashford, Daniel James and Anthony Martial. I think, he will complement them, very, very well. Like I said, he's confirmed Eric Bay and Fosu Mensah. They're still out for a little while. I think they have been back in training, like Solskjaer recently said. Bay's been out with an knee injury since the start of pre-season. And obviously, Fosu Mensah has been out over an injury. We've had some good news regarding Diego Dalot. Solskjaer's confirmed that he will be playing tonight for the youngsters. And he said, from there, he should be ready. So actually, could play on Sunday. If he doesn't play on Sunday, he should be involved in the game against Newcastle on Boxing Day. And Diego Dalot has sustained quite a few injuries, this season. But Solskjaer's confirmed overall anyway, that more players are coming back from injury, which is obviously very, very good. But reflects on the amount of injuries we've had this season anywhere. Solskjaer has had to make a lot of alterations in the squad and that. But yeah, we should beat Watford on Sunday. I'm very, very confident, going into this game, to be quite honest with you. I won't get too overconfident, but I have got some confidence in me. I know we haven't been great against the lower opposition this season, and, our record against the lower teams has got to improve because, against elite opposition, it's been totally comparison against elite opposition because we've actually done really, really well against elite opposition. Like I said, this season, we've beaten Man City, we've beaten Tottenham, we beat Leicester early on this season. We're due with Liverpool. We're the only team this season to take many points from Liverpool. We also beat Chelsea at the beginning of the season by 4 goals to 0. So we are capable of beating anybody on the day and that. But where, like I said, where we should beat Watford, and Watford themselves have enjoyed a really difficult start to the season. Watford have only won 1 game so far this season. They've drawn 6, so they've only registered 9 points from a possible 17. Obviously Watford recently recommended Nigel Pearson in as their new manager. It is Watford's third manager of the season. They sacked Sanchez Flores not too long ago after less than 3 months in charge. But, actually, Watford have got some pretty decent players in their team. They've got the likes of... it's got some good attacking players. They've got... Troy Deeney, a very good player. They've got De La Feu, they've got Decore, they've got Will Hughes. They've got Tom Cleverley, who of course used to play for Man United. So Watford have got some pretty decent players in that. But we've got a really, really good record against Watford. Like I mentioned on my preview this morning, there has, in the Premier League era, there has been 12 encounters between Man United and Watford. We've won 11 out of 12. Our only defeat against Watford, came, back in September 2016. We lost by 3 goals to 1. But, Watford, of course, are going to be fighting relegation this season. I do presume, that they are going to be going down. They lost to Liverpool last week 2-0. They only lost 2-0 at Anfield, surprisingly. And I thought Watford, put up a very, very good fight. They had some really, really good chances in that game. And I thought for large periods of that game, they really, really dominated in that. But, they did really, really well. Obviously, we need to win this game anywhere, because we need to get back to winning ways in the Premier League. We dropped 2 points against Everton last week. That was very, very frustrating. We're currently 6th in the league at the moment. We are 4 points behind top 4. I know I said, about, was it 3 or 4 weeks ago that, I was very sceptical that we was going to get that top 4. And I actually, fully disregarded it. But now, I think, we're back in that top 4 race, despite that we didn't beat Everton. But obviously, Chelsea have slipped up in the last couple of weeks, so we're only 4 points behind them. So we can get that top 4 this season. I do think, we are good enough to get that top 4. Definitely, definitely good enough to get that top 4. But I think, our aspirations will be that top four in the next couple of seasons. There's no excuse, why we shouldn't win this game anywhere. Because rested quite a few key players in the 3-0 win against Colchester in the Carabao Cup. Obviously, we didn't. Wan-Bissaka was rested. Lindelof was rested. McTominay and Fred was rested. Daniel James and that was rested. So I do expect them all to be back for the game on Sunday against Watford. And it is good as well, that we are into the semi-finals of the Carabao Cup, and I think, we can win the Carabao Cup this season. I think we're definitely good enough. I think it's probably our only chance, to get some silverware on the board this season. Maybe we could also win the Europa League. Obviously we won Group L, we're into knockout stages of the Europa League. Obviously, where we have got Club Brugge, and I've got to say, I'm very, very satisfied with that draw. So I think, we can win the Europa League. Obviously, it's another route to Champions League football, rather than getting rather than that top four. So I think, we can do it. But we won the Carabao Cup and the Europa League under Jose Mourinho era a couple of years ago. So maybe we can replicate that again this season. And Solskjaer, was recently, speaking about, the importance of us lifting, trophies in that, because we have lads who in the last 6 or 7 years. We have that silverware in the last 6 or 7 years. And obviously we've got Man City in the Carabao Cup semi-final. That's going to be a very, very good game. Also, it's going to be an extremely difficult game as well. Is that game, but I think we're capable of beating Man City. We've done it once already this season at the Etihad. We beat them 2-1. That was the most recent game. I've got to say that's probably Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's best game so far during his managerial career with Manchester United and that. But I think if we can replicate the same performance over the 2 legs of what we did do in the league, then I think we can comfortably beat Man City. And Man City, of course, they're progressed past Oxford in the quarter-final and that. But it will be a tough game. Obviously, the first leg is at Old Trafford on the, I think, is it the 7th of January. Then the second leg is at the Etihad on the 28th of January. I think probably whoever wins that game will win the Carabao Cup. Obviously the other draw was Aston Villa against Leicester, the other draw. I probably presume, that Leicester will win that. Yeah, so I think we're definitely good enough to beat Man City. Like I said, City have not performed to the standards as we should expect from them this season. As we expect from them this season, that Solskjaer, from his own perception, still believes that Man City are the best team in England. But he obviously, said, this was prior to the league game, that he still believes that Manchester United are a bigger club than Man City, and we are a bigger club than Man City historically, reflecting on the success we've had. Obviously, at this present time, City are strides ahead of us, so too are Liverpool, so I will put that into the equation. But, anything can happen in Manchester Derby, in that, City, still a very, very good team, Pep Guardiola's philosophy is very, very good. He's regarded as one of the best managers in the world. Of course, City won, the domestic treble last season. They also, have won back-to-back titles. They're looking to win their 3rd title on the trot this season. Obviously, I'm very sceptical that's going to happen, because Liverpool are on course for their first ever Premier League title, because they haven't won it, all in all, for around 30 years. City have also won the League Cup in the last 2 seasons. I think they've won it 4 times out of the last 6 years. So it just proves, they have been very competitive in that competition. But I'm really, really looking forward to the semi-final, guys. As you all know, yesterday, Solskjaer celebrated his 1-year anniversary at Manchester United, and that, so he has been here exactly a year now. Obviously, he says the year's gone quick and he's been very, very enjoyable, and it says it's been an honour and it's been a privilege in that. So hopefully now he can do well in his second year at the football club, because he is now entering his second year at Manchester United. I still believe there's a lot of expectations he does have to exceed in his second year, but I don't think Solskjaer has to worry about the sack now, because he's not under, any intense pressure. He was under intense pressure, before the Tottenham game. If we hadn't beaten Tottenham, if we hadn't beaten Man City, then I do probably believe, he would have been sacked by the club. But he's been under intense pressure this season anyway, reflecting on our disastrous start to the season, because we have enjoyed our worst start to a Premier League season for around 30 years. But like I said, we're unbeaten in our last 6 games, in all competitions. So we're hopeful that we can extend that unbeaten run. So the pressure has eased off him, reflecting on the recent results. But yeah, he has been here exactly a year now. He's been permanent manager for around 9 months. He's been a permanent manager as Solskjaer. Obviously, analysing the vast majority of this 9-month period, we know he's mainly enjoyed difficult time. Totally comparison to the time when he was the interim manager, because he did really, really well in that 3-month period when he was the interim manager. The results were good, the performances were good, he exceeded expectations, and he won his first 8 games as temporary boss, then went on to win 14 out of 19 in total and that. But since he's got the job, everything has just seemed to all gone wrong, and I think that was one of the mistakes in the football club, was giving him the job. Maybe we should have waited a bit longer, to see if he was the right candidate for Man United and that. I know we've had some good results recently and that, good result against Colchester, disappointing result against Everton, but we had good results against Tottenham City in that. It still doesn't change my perception regarding Solskjaer. I still don't think he's the right manager to elevate Manchester United forward. Obviously, the likes of Solskjaer himself and Ed Woodward and the vast majority of our players, their perceptions are totally comparison to mine and quite a few Man United fans, because they still believe he's the right man, because a lot of our players are still willing to keep faith in him. So to is Ed Woodward, he's determined to stand by him. So to our the board. But like I said. But like I said, he's got a 3-year contract at the football club anyway. He's got a 3-year contract, so if we did decide to sack him, within this 3-year period, then obviously, we'd have to pay something in compensation to get rid of Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. And I know there's been, a few managers on our agenda, who could replace him at the club. Obviously, there's been a lot of speculation regarding Pochettino. He was sacked from Tottenham last month. There was speculation regarding Massimiliano Allegri, but like I've said, I don't think, we only need a change of management. I think, there's definitely no more problematic players at Manchester United that do need to be moved on. I think we need to get rid of another 4 or 5 more players next year. So definitely no more players do need to be moved on, despite the fact that a lot of players have left since Solskjaer's arrival. So there's definitely still problematic players at the football club. I did say during the summer it would have been beneficial to recommend a new director of footballing, because I did say that's one of the structural changes that we need to see at the football club. I think we also need to get rid of our board, because our board have been a liability for several years. My element of concerns about Solskjaer is that he's been tactically naive for the vast majority of this season. Maybe in some games, we've showed a lot of tactical flexibility, which is good. He doesn't really have a style of play. He doesn't really have a plan B. So you can say that's an element of concern. Don't think he's good enough, to succeed as a manager. For me, he hasn't really got any intuition on how to manage a big football club like Manchester United. As a player, he was fantastic for us and that. And he was speaking about, it's in our DNA and the culture and that. He also mentioned this during his press conference, and so he knows the traditions of the club, but I just don't think he's good enough to succeed as a manager in that. So as a manager, I think he's totally comparison to how he was as a player in that. And some people say maybe if we do give him another 3 or 4 more years, then maybe he could emulate into Ferguson. I don't see it happening. I'm very sceptical about it. But I think regardless of who our manager is anywhere, I don't think, they'll ever invoke Ferguson's legacy at the football club. Don't forget, recently, Ferguson was speaking about his Manchester United legacy and that. Yeah, so we're willing to give him at least a couple more windows, to make more investment, because obviously, there's only 3 players that are Solskjaer's at the moment, and that's Daniel James, and Wan-Bissaka, and Harry Maguire. And, they haven't been accountable for any of our bad performances or results this season, because you can say they've been our best players of the new signings, but we've paid nearly £150 million for those 3 players. We've also got a lot of young upcoming players in the squad as well, don't forget. A lot of young upcoming players in the squad. I do believe that a lot of the young upcoming players will become a success at Manchester United. I think Greenwood's doing really, really well. He's only at the age of 18. There's a lot of Manchester United fans demanding Solskjaer to play Mason Greenwood on more of a regular basis and that, because he hasn't. I think he's only started 1 game this season from the start in the Premier League, and that was the 2-1 win against Tottenham. That was the 2-1 win against Tottenham, and that. And that was only due to Martial's absence at that current time. But he started quite a lot of games in the Europa League. Very, very good player, and I think some people are saying we should drop Martial more and play Mason Greenwood over him, because some Man United fans believe that Mason Greenwood is a better solution. But very good player. And I think by the time he's 23, 24, he will be a Glasgow player for Man United. But so far this season, he has scored 7 senior goals for the football club. Very, very good player. Brandon Williams, I think, we now view Brandon Williams as our first choice left back. Brandon Williams, very, very good player, Brandon Williams. I know Luke Shaw's been our first choice left back for quite some time and that, but obviously now Brandon Williams is on the equation. I think Solskjaer views him as his first choice left back, but overall anyway, we've got a variety of fullbacks in the team that can be competitive. Brandon Williams is very, very good. Tuanzebe will be another one that'll do well in the games he's played in this season. He's been fantastic. He just recently recovered from a hip injury. I think there's a lot of Manchester United fans, of course, demanding Andres Pereira out of the football club, because I think, we've been overplaying Andres Pereira this season. He's too inconsistent, is Andres Pereira. I don't think, he's good enough to represent the football club. So it would be beneficial if we did move him on next year, to be quite honest with you. So Solskjaer's got a lot of trust with him and his young players, but Solskjaer did confirm at the start of this season that the young players would get given their chances. When he first got recommended in December of last year, he assured that everybody will get their opportunities, which is very, very good. But I think a lot of players have stepped up to the plate recently. I've seen some aspects of our game have improved recently. We seem to be creating more chances, which we struggled to do early on this season. We also struggled to do that last season. We're scoring more goals. Players are rejuvenating themselves. I've been impressed with Rashford. Rashford's in scintillating form now. He's scored 14 goals for the club this season so far. His performance is now a total comparison to his performances earlier on this season, because he was atrocious earlier on in the season. Rashford so far spent the entirety of his career with Manchester United. He's been in the senior squad since 2016. Overall, he's been a United player since the age of 7. And he's scored 59 goals as Rashford in 193 appearances. So now he's nearly on 200 appearances for the football club. But fair play to him. Lingard's done well recently, I've got to be honest. He's just recently recovered from a knock that he had, so he missed the game. Was it the game against Tottenham City, if I can remember rightly? Because Lingard was poor earlier on in the season. I think in the games Martial's played in this season, he's also been fantastic. I think McTominay and Fred have complemented each other in our midfield fantastically well. So there has been a lot of good performances recently. Don't get me wrong, I'm still aware that there's still some aspects of our game that do need to improve. But yeah, so hopefully we can beat Watford. We are looking we are looking for our 7th win of the season. But analyse this season, we've drawn too many games. Obviously we've lost 4 as well, but we've drawn 7 this season out of 17 games, and the vast majority of them draws, you could say, we should have arguably won. But yeah, so that's my reaction to Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's press conference, building up to the game. So anyway, guys, drop your comments, likes below on the channel. If you do, consider subscribe as always, and take care. God bless, and I'll see you all again very, very soon. Thanks for watching.